Welcome to the JD Power AI and Insurance Podcast, your inside look at how artificial intelligence is redefining trust, value, and performance across the insurance ecosystem. I'm your host, Michael Vermillion. Today's guest is Justin Moreno, founder and chief consultant at PMA Group, where he advises leading brands on how to navigate significant shifts in digital behavior, marketing performance, and customer acquisition. At PMA Group, Justin works at the intersection of strategy, analytics, and innovation, helping organizations adapt to major disruptions in how customers search, discover, and evaluate brands. Together, we'll explore how AI-driven search is reshaping the insurance landscape, what it means for customer acquisition and retention, and the steps senior marketing leaders must take to stay visible, relevant, and preferred in an AI-first world. Justin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah, great topic. So looking forward to diving in on this one. Before we do that, maybe just give us the audience a quick overview of PMA Group and your role as chief consultant.
Yeah, happily. So PMA Group or Performance Marketing Advisors. We are a performance-driven consultancy, and our focus is really helping organizations modernize how they acquire, engage, and retain customers. We help organizations modernize their entire marketing ecosystem so they can be more effective and more effectively compete in a rapidly changing market that we're seeing today. We specialize in what many would consider, I think, to be the more complex sectors like insurance, financial services, and healthcare. That's really where our expertise lies. And my role as chief consultant, I partner with executive teams to help them really hone their entire marketing ecosystem and explore ways for maximizing ROI from their investments. A big part of my role and that of the team is to identify and expose what's really holding organizations back, helping them architect more modern operating systems and models for their marketing sophistication, and then ultimately helping leaders, bring that new model to life across their teams. But our three primary objectives for every client are to, we want to make everyone more self-sufficient so that they can take ownership and really manage the newly developed marketing engines that we built together. We want to improve marketing ROI. But really our core ethos, I would say, is how do we really work with leadership to reduce the reliance on paid marketing by deploying strategies that really accelerate organic growth. And that's us in a very large nutshell.
Great, thank you for that. So just to kind of set the stage for today's conversation, you recently wrote an article on AI-driven search. The article highlighted major shifts in how people discover information online. So just at a very high level, what's the headline message that you want insurance leaders to take away?
Right. I mean, that was a meaty one. I'd say that the main takeaway from that thought leadership piece is that insurance leaders need to start recognizing, if they haven't already, that AI-driven search, this is not just a minor shift. This is a new competitive battleground, really. I'm reminded of, you go back to the early 2000s where there were marketing agencies, the performance marketing agencies didn't exist. And then you turn the page and that's all everyone was focused on. I'd see this as being a similar kind of moment in time for our industry. And, now AI assistants are quickly becoming the place where consumers form their first impressions of coverage options and carriers and how to adapt to risk. And not addressing that really will potentially put a brand in a situation where they fall out of consideration entirely. The priority now is making sure that your organization can be accurately represented when it comes to AI, and they start generating answers around you or your products or services. And that really means structuring your product information so that it's easily consumable by machines for their ability to interpret it, evaluate it, ensure that it's clear, the clarity is there. And that your value proposition is unmistakable. As AI continues to increase in adoption, it's really narrowing choices for customers and ensures that invest early here, they're really going to be the ones that shape demand, and those that don't are going to struggle with their visibility.
Uh, Great. So let's just double click on kind of the macro trend or shift that's happening from traditional search to AI generated discovery. So, what are some of the most important ways that AI driven search is changing traditional search and discovery model, particularly for financial services and insurance?
Yeah, and I really like the more complex the financial service and insurance. So I'd say, having spent as much time in it as we have, myself and my partners in those specific verticals, I think when it comes to AI driven search, it's really shifting discovery away from the old norm was comparison browsing, right? And it's shifted towards guided decision making is the way that we describe it. It's instead of prospects, users, the population researching across multiple different websites, consumers are now receiving direct explanations. It's really another level of personalization, where the responses and the recommendations are personalized to their specific situation. And that, fundamentally, I think changes who's going to shape the early stages of consideration. And so for insurers, financial services as well, those providers, the implication is that the depth and the structure of your information matter more than the traditional rankings that we all were hyper focused on for so long. AI really rewards clarity and consistency. So organizations that can clearly articulate their products, value proposition, key differentiators, the suitability of their products, they're going to be the ones that are surfaced more often in AI search. And the carriers that learn to communicate in ways that AI systems can easily parse that information and content, they're the ones that are going to have a major advantage in how that information is presented to consumers. So.
So you talk about zero click experiences. So what like just becoming more common, right? And maybe a good starting point here is let's define what that means. What is a zero click experience?
Right.
But in that context, how should insurers be is just rethink visibility and content when consumers may never
See
how should insurers rethink visibility and content when consumers may never even reach their website?
I know it's so zero click means kind of going back to the same response where or the earlier question of how AI search results, AI driven search results, back to the blue link clicks. When we say zero click experiences, that's again going back to this concept of consumers are now getting more comfortable with asking for specific guidance, right? It's no longer their responsibility to start doing research in the comparative shopping. Those recommendations are going to be provided directly for them. And so visibility in that environment, visibility now depends on how well your organization is represented across the entire web, not just the properties that you own and control. And as that zero click behavior continues to grow, insurers specifically need to plan for a world where the earliest interactions that consumers are going to have with your brand are often not going to happen on your properties. That means your content has to be strong enough to really stand on its own 2 feet, whether it's surfaced on, by an AI assistant or a knowledge panel or some other third party source that is citing you. So, the focus now needs to be or shifted from driving traffic to shaping how information about you is represented and the clarity of it out in the ecosystem around your brand. Um, invest, investing in copy and content development that really builds clarity around that. And again, your value prop, your products, your services, where you're differentiated, that needs to hold up even when it's shared outside of your properties. That's the way you win today.
Okay, so let's double click a bit on just the implications for insurance marketers. So
Every time you
maybe
say
maybe
double click, by the way, it reminds me of the old double click platform back then. I'm having flashbacks.
yeah, we are Justin. We are aging ourselves. If you know what the double click platform is, that is early days, right?
Right.
Um, but and I don't know where I picked up that phrase. It works for me. But let's maybe think about it in terms of risk and opportunity. So on the risk side,
Mhm.
what risks do large insurance carriers face if they don't adapt to AI-driven search, whether it's
Right.
customer acquisition, brand visibility, or competitive positioning?
Well, there's a lot of risks, but I'd even before we even dive into the risks, I think what a lot of brands are contending with now, and we were just talking to a client about this last week. Some recognize the importance of content, right, and ensuring that they have a lot of it out there, that it's relevant, that it's timely, it's updated, and really boosting their credibility score. But a lot of organizations, they were not built from a staffing standpoint to really account for the mass production that needs to happen in this arena. And so I'd say that that's a problem that a lot of them are seeing upstream. And until they solve that, or unless they work with a partner that can solve for that, the risk I think becomes more pronounced, right? And I
Mhm.
think the risk is that carriers that ignore AI driven search, kind of going back to my earlier comment, they're losing influence in the exact moments when prospects, potential customers are starting to form their decisions. Um, the We talk a lot about internally that the marketing funnel has fundamentally changed. The way that used to you would grow initial awareness was through a strong branding awareness play, and now that's the oftentimes the way that most consumers would get their first exposure to your brand. But now, again, with AI, that's fundamentally shifted. So if you're not optimizing your content, your site structure, your technical foundations, on-site and off-site authority, trustworthiness, credibility, you're losing influence at those exact moments when customers are forming those early decisions. And so fewer and fewer prospects will encounter your brand because more and more people are adopting to AI. AI favors clear, more transparent competitor content is a risk. And this is going to undermine the competitive positioning for your brand because digital first players have already started optimizing aggressively for AI systems. So falling behind here doesn't just mean your site traffic is going to fall. It means you're losing your seat at the table at the earliest and most decisive parts of the new customer journey. I think that's the way I would articulate the risk.
Okay. Okay, so then maybe flipping it on its head on the positive side, what are the opportunities
Right.
that exist for insurers who do proactively optimize for the AI answer layer
Right.
instead of just relying solely on classic SEO?
Yeah, I mean it's the opposite, right? You're the early adopter I was just mentioning in the prior response. I mean, if you're an early adopter to how AI engines are really structured to consume and ingest and interpret and then resurface your content, your information, really expose you as the thought leader, you're in a position where you have a massive strategic advantage. We often talk about how a lot of the new AI tools, and there's a lot out there that are a little snake oil, but there are a lot that are wildly powerful. And AI has really become the great equalizer, right? There's brands that they didn't have the resources. They didn't have, 7, 8, 9 figure budgets. But now with the tools that do exist that are AI powered and they're not snake oil, they have an opportunity to really compete with some of the biggest brands out there. And by making their product information easy for AI to interpret it, they can position themselves as the primary trusted source within the digital space and ensure that their brand, their thought leadership pieces are consistently appearing when consumers are exploring coverage questions. So what this does is it unlocks more efficiency on things like acquisition costs in the aggregate. You get higher quality leads. They're pre-qualified because they've already done the research. And it's a stronger match between customer needs and your product strengths, right? Because that research has already been done. They've already found that you're well suited for what they're looking for. So again, early adopters I think are in a position where they can really shape how offerings theirs are understood by AI systems. They can jump to the top of the list and put themselves in a position where they have almost an unfair advantage while the rest of the market tries to catch up.
Okay, so that's the business case. Let's kind of turn the conversation into something more practical in terms of a call to action and a concrete starting point, a short-term path to adaptation. So in your article, you encourage a 60 to 90 day experimentation cycle. If you were advising a CMO or a senior insurance marketing leader, what would be the first 90 days of an AI search adaptation plan? What would that look like?
Eh, Easy one for me, because we use the same approach with every client, and it is that 60-90 experimentation. It's so that model, the way that we go about auditing and formalizing theories and our testing strategy, it really focuses on how do we develop clarity, how do we get alignment around our content, and how can we learn as much as we can as quickly as we can. So rapid learning. Typically for us, weeks 1 through 3 are really about establishing a baseline, and this is the same advice I would give to any CMO or new client. We want to establish a baseline so we know what's our starting point. Reviewing how AI tools are currently describing our products and services, how we compare. That's a big part of our audit too, is the competitive analysis to see, who are we competing with from an attention standpoint. So not necessarily selling the same products and services, but going for the same audience. And then the other side of the competitor are people that do have the same products and services. So I think understanding that is a big part of weeks 1 through 3. We want to map where information is inconsistent or unclear, and then identify what those sources are, because it's coming from somewhere, right? Then for weeks 4 to 7, what we really do is we try to strengthen the foundational content aspects. So especially things around like product descriptions, FAQs, listicles, educational resources that might be on their digital properties. And again, these are the sources that are feeding the AI engines and responses. So ensuring that it's accurate, consistent, that it really reflects the true value of your offerings. That's really the focus on weeks 4 through 7. And then lastly, through 8 through 12, we start running small tests, targeted experiments to really understand what's improving AI visibility. We test new formats. We test clarity, adding clarity to the positioning on content pieces. We also monitor how those automated answers are evolving, because I think holistically, when we think about the entire approach, there's no silver bullet here. Winning in this new world is a combination of a lot of the best practices that we implemented with traditional search engine optimization, with now these new layers that are going to really appeal to AI. So the goal really isn't about being perfect across everything at once. It's about creating a repeatable cycle that allows us to continuously improve how their brands are represented in AI generated answers. So
So Justin, performance marketers love metrics.
right.
Let's talk about measurement for a second. So how should insurance marketing teams measure differently now that sessions from the blue links is less relevant?
Right. I mean, so again, it's a lot of the way that we go about it for our test and learn strategy. But I think first, start tracking where and how often your brand is appearing. Um, we have some tools that streamline that process so we can do it faster. But once you've identified that, then it really becomes a game of measuring the quality and the accuracy of those representations, right? And again, reevaluating what you have, what you're putting out into the universe, because again, it's being sourced from somewhere. Um, Down funnel measurements are also really important. So are prospects more informed, right? The ones that are engaging with you, are they coming to you, and when they start engaging with your teams, are they more informed? Do they have less questions? Are your conversion rates improving? And I think lastly and finally, it's about ensuring that there's consistency again across your entire content ecosystem. So those are the things that you really need to start paying attention to. That's how you're going to win in this game, because measuring success now isn't about those surface level metrics, right? It's about understanding your presence and the performance within AI driven experiences, not just counting how many and who lands on your pages. That those days are over.
Hmm.
So.
So as we begin to wrap up, we like to finish these conversations with a look ahead. So how do you see AI-driven search evolving over, let's say, the next 12 months, next year? And what is that going to mean for the insurance customer journey, from everything from shopping to renewal?
Yeah, I mean, and it's already started. I'd say it's just going to be more of the same, right? AI is going to be increasingly more and more taking the lead on almost as an insurance guide, right? Helping consumers understand not only what products are available and what are the coverage options, but also their needs. I think that's another thing that's a lot of folks are failing to recognize is that guidance from AI is just as much about finding products and services that are available in the space, but also evaluating their own personal needs and aligning those two together. So, well before they ever speak with an agent or a broker or visit an online quote, they're going to be far more informed on what are the right products and services for them. So, that's going to be a major shift. I think there'll be streamlined conversions if you're doing it well. Shopping will start becoming more tailored to the explanations that are generated by AI. I mean, myself, Christmas shopping, I'm leveraging AI to figure out what's the right gift for an under 8-year-old girl. And I saw an article recently that was saying that there's going to be the vast majority of folks for this holiday season are going to be doing something similar, taking similar actions. So that's about the acquisition. But I think on the retention side, we're going to start seeing a lot more places where I'm trying to be delicate about this because I don't want to freak anybody out, but I think existing customers are going to start using AI to reassess their current coverage with you. They're going to be evaluating renewal pricing. They're going to be using AI to explore alternatives. And oftentimes all without having to switch the channels in which they're engaging, right? This all can happen within a single UI. So I think insurers that provide clear and structured data are going to benefit by AI reinforcing their value statements that they put out into the world. Those that don't, and I think this is the other side of that equation over the next 12 months, we're also going to see insurance brands start suffering. Those that aren't being proactive here, we're going to start seeing them being filtered out through a lot of these automated touch points. So some are going to win, some are going to fall.
Okay, so with that as the context, then, if you could give a senior marketing executive one piece of advice to prepare their organization for AI driven search, what would it be?
When it comes to your online content, and I mean that both in terms of offsite and onsite, so anything that's out there, both on your properties and talked about you elsewhere, your number one priority is going to be clarity. In an AI driven search world, every advantage goes to the organizations who are prioritizing information that can be quickly understood and confidently repeated by machines. So if you have and a lot of brands make the mistake of thinking, oh, less is more. Not necessarily the case. A lot of it is now comes down to how you're structuring your content, ensuring that there's consistency across all the pages. So ensuring your products, messages, and data are structured so AI can convey your value as clearly as you think you do, that's how you win. That would be my advice. Re-examine everything that you have out in the ecosystem today. Ensure that it's consistent, it's cohesive, it's uniform, and it's structured in such a way that it's going to reap benefits for you organically. Yeah.
Justin, is there anything that we missed or didn't cover that you wanted to cover today?
No, I mean, I would say, no, I do. I have one. I think that a lot of folks are we see it on LinkedIn, we see it in a lot of the industry publications right now. AI is definitely the buzzword, right? And when there's emerging technologies like this, there's a lot of solutions out in the space that, again, they're more often than not, they're more snake oil than anything else, right? And so I think it's important to be really careful about the tools that you're using. I mean, even web development or revamping your website, there's a lot of risks of doing that folks don't recognize, where it can have just catastrophic impact to your brand if you don't take the proper steps. And I think taking the proper steps, regardless of what you're doing, I think is the thing you need to be really cognizant of today. Making one small step in the wrong direction could have just a tremendous impact on your organic growth, even if you think you're doing the right thing. I mean, some of the clients that we're seeing, I know industry average says that with AI search overviews, some brands are seeing anywhere between 15 to 30% declines in organic traffic. We're seeing far worse. In the insurance and financial services space, I mean, we have some clients that are seeing up to 60% drop in organic traffic over
Mm.
the last 10 months. I mean, that's wildly painful. And you can understand how that really impacts their business growth. So I think last thing I'd say is right now, PMA Group, we're offering a free audit where we will, do our industry leading 9 point audit of everything that affects both your traditional search performance and AI search performance, and we're walking brands through the impact and our findings with no commitment. So that's available right now. We have been talking to a number of organizations within the financial services space. They're seeing a lot of really meaningful insights that are giving them very specific step-by-step actions that they need to take in 2026. So if anyone's interested, more than happy to do that. I think taking a data-driven approach to 2026 planning seems to be really powerful for a lot of brands right now that are wondering what should they be doing. We can help you figure out what those steps are and really give you a very specific roadmap on how to improve your current performance. So,
And be sure to mention you heard that on the JD Power AI and Insurance podcast, right?
oh yeah, attribution.
Justin, where can listeners follow your work or learn more about PMA Group and your insights on AI-driven marketing transformation?
Yeah, we eat our own dog food. So if you search for performance marketing advisors, that's one great way. There's also a lot of content that pops up when you do that. But I think the fastest way, going back to optimization, is you can also just go to askpma.com. So that's a streamlined way of getting to our digital properties, our website, and there you can find content pieces. We also have, we're openly talking about the fact that we're providing free, commitment-free search audits right now as well. So, yeah, feel free to reach out. We're happy to help.
Justin, that was terrific. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. Let's do more of it.
That was an insightful conversation with Justin Moreno, exploring how AI-driven search is reshaping not just the mechanics of marketing, but the way customers discover, evaluate, and stay with insurance brands. From the rise of zero-click journeys to the new signals of authority and trust, Justin reminds us that the future of growth won't be won by gaming algorithms, but by building real value, clarity, and relevance that AI can recognize and amplify. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your team and subscribe for more insights at the intersection of AI leadership and innovation. I'm Michael Vermillion, and we'll see you next time as we explore more ways AI is rewriting the insurance rulebook.